Hey everybody! Welcome to Friday the 13th, the series. I'm your producer, Robert.
And I'm your guest, Laura.
And after a complete, spoiler-filled recap of the episode, we are going to discuss the show you either just learned existed or always wondered how it existed. We promise the answers will be few and far between because we're just here to have some goofity fun exploring a show that, despite or possibly even because of its faults, isn't good and isn't so bad it's good, but is still somehow oddly charming. Let's dive in, shall we? Thanks for joining Laura and I as we once again drown in the narrative quicksand of episode 17, The Electrocutioner. It's a bit late in the game, but I should mention that I've only seen the first 17 episodes, and although Laura has technically seen some episodes beyond that, it was so long ago she and I are more or less on the same footing. And I promise you, our ignorance will be on full display before this discussion is over. We'll pick up right where we left off and finally give you closure on Laura's keen observation on the irrepressible nature of Canadian politeness. Then I'll continue my acerbic summary of the episode. Laura and I will likely fail to predict the future in our crystal ball segment. And then a little more summary sandwiched around a brand new segment, The Manifest. Our list of actors we'd cast if the show was ever remade. Of course, that probably won't mean much to you if you've never seen it, so head on over to Inner Demon Entertainment, where you can find a YouTube link you can use to watch every episode for free. We hope you enjoy them as much as we have, but not more. That would hardly be fair to us.
Eli has revealed his identity and he's telling Eli to leave, and he goes over and walks toward him to show him the door and escort him out. And right as he passes Eli, the way he says "excuse me" is the funniest moment in that scene, because you can tell it's just the actor's natural instinct to be polite. Like you say, it's that Canadian sensibility to be nice, because he's all upset. He's like, "It wasn't my fault and the evidence against you was overwhelming and I think you should leave." Oh, excuse me. He just drops it in. He just completely breaks character and drops it in as he walks past. And it's just the funniest thing.
Keep a window open with the episode kind of queued up. You're right. That is magnificent. I'm going to say there's definitely a little Canadian sensibility creeping in there. Surprised he didn't apologize for throwing him out. Thank you so much for that gift, Laura. Since we're here now, I'll mention that Michael Tate, also in an episode of The Littlest Hobo and The Hitchhiker. And then I'm going to go ahead and be pedantic, and after that whole Daniel conversation, why former DA? There's no sense that, say, what happened to Eli caused him to change his tune about being a DA. It's not like he's now a priest. He looks like he's still a lawyer. Everything about his office screams lawyer, right down to the scales of justice he keeps in there, and yet he's not a DA. He's a former DA.
He could still be an attorney. He may have just shifted from working for the government to a private practice.
Entirely possible. It's just weird that the script spells it out so many times, former DA, when that detail doesn't add anything. It feels like the seed of an idea that wasn't developed.
Maybe they just wanted to draw attention away from his name.
You want to just spin the wheel of your notes, and wherever we land, that's what we'll discuss next?
I know this is going back to a little bit before, but the scene where Ryan is playing with his plasma ball, I love Mickey's response when he says that he's trying to make his equipment more sensitive to music. And she just replies, "Why should your lamp be any different from you?" It's such a weird put down. And then the way she laughs, like, ha 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 ha. Is she suggesting that Ryan is insensitive, or he just has bad taste in music?
I think it's mostly an attack on his music, because the show does sometimes call back little bits of continuity, and Ryan in past episodes has dabbled with the guitar.
Ah, okay. I feel so much better now about the entire episode. As you mentioned, at least we seem to be moving away from the flirting cousins.
Yes, I was just glad it wasn't that. I'll take what I can get at this point. What do you think about Eli's look?
I mean, Weird Al's right there.
Young Weird Al when his hair was short and he had the mustache.
That was pretty much it.
Do you know who Kevin McDonald is? Are you familiar with The Kids in the Hall?
I mean, I definitely looked him up after you mentioned him. A lot of credits, a lot of voice work for animation and such.
He's worked, yeah. It's not the look so much as the voice and the mannerisms. Eli's constantly on the verge of tittering. What did you make of the rapport between Eli and Melissa?
She seems completely unfazed by how bizarrely he is acting.
We're all on the same page that he's a weird dude, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I went in for a dentist appointment and interacted with him, I would not be going back. There's something really sweet about it and the way that she's very accepting. I just like how confident she is. She just seems to know who she is and what she likes. And I'm sure that Eli feels comfortable being himself around her. So I think they actually have a really nice relationship for as brief as it is on screen.
Kudos to them for having them pull off this quote relationship without it seeming probably as problematic as it should, which is going to lead me to my next question. Is it weird that this reform school is co-ed?
I feel like reform schools probably would be co-ed.
Maybe I'm juxtaposing reform school with juvenile detention.
Reform schools probably not as strict. I'm sure they would have strict rules on fraternizing in rooms after hours and things like that, but it doesn't seem like there's that many restrictions socially for these kids.
There doesn't. I mean, to the tune of a male and female student walking down the hall together past what's presumably the women's dorms because Melissa lives in one of them, and the male administrator and the dentist periodically just show up in Melissa's room.
Yeah, really odd scene.
I think it's that Canadian sensibility that somehow doesn't make this all seem way more dark than it probably should if we were to connect some of these dots.
Yeah, there's definitely an innocence about it that it perhaps shouldn't have.
In innocence, yes. I mean, this scene between him and her actually reminds me of Road Trip, starring Tom Green, among others. There's a moment where Tom Green is talking to a 14-year-old boy. He's telling like a fictional story that just devolves into a women's locker room and graphic descriptions of that. And he's just vibing with this boy in a way that absolutely should be inappropriate, and yet somehow it just feels innocent. And now that I'm saying it out loud, I realize Tom Green also Canadian. So I think we might be onto something here.
Part of that sense of innocence, I mean, is that because we know that he's only interested in murdering them and not doing anything else?
The thing is, the innocence is sold so well that when it comes to murdering time, it's all the more baffling.
Right.
If it was my take on things and there were sinister undertones here, it would at least make more sense when he killed them.
I'm trying to rationalize this in my head and failing.
There's just no sense that he's acting really nice so that everyone lets their guard down so that he can do what he really wants to do. It does seem to just work on that surface level of he's just a super cool guy and he keeps his tie loose, even though you'd think the administrator might have an issue with that, but he's trying to be your cool RA. It's just so weird then when he starts murdering kids left and right.
The later scene with his second victim, he establishes this relationship with them both being orphans. And I wondered if maybe he felt like he was doing them a favor somehow, like it was a mercy killing. But again, we don't see, they could have gone that way, but they didn't. Like you say, there's just no reason for it. He's just nice one moment and then murdering the next.
You are doing the lion's share of the backstory screenwriting to make that connection.
Yes.
Did you notice that when he gets in the chair to absorb their power after killing them, he for some reason brings the lamp over to shine on his face? What is that, Laura?
I don't know.
What is that contributing?
I saw that as well, and I just died. I thought, what the? Not part of the electric chair.
No, it's clearly part of the dental equipment.
I don't know. The next time I'm at a dentist appointment and I see them move that mirror, I'm just going to start laughing.
You know, I didn't even think about that till you just said it. The effect that this is going to have on me the next time I'm at the dentist, I'm probably going to laugh my ass off the whole time.
I am not going to try to explain anything either. That'll just make me seem more crazy.
I can't wait till you surreptitiously inspect the back of the chair just to make sure there's no lever.
I know, right? Well, it has that helmet piece that's rather conspicuous.
I know, it's so weird. I mean, I would say if you just lost it, but I get it. Then what really makes it an electric chair? Any chair you hooked voltage to by default becomes an electric chair. And there's even that one moment where he's standing next to the chair and he pulls the headrest into view like it's a revelation, like we're not supposed to know up to this point that he is Eli Pittman from the opening sequence. But we totally do.
It may have just been a bit of direction to create some movement in that shot, so it wasn't just him standing there by the chair.
I'm sure that's it. It was just a visual flourish to make the scene more interesting, which again fits in what I keep saying about the show. They always push their whole pile of chips onto the square of, is it interesting? And it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense.
You've summed up all 72 episodes.
To her credit, I do love the little dancey walk Melissa does as she walks out. She turns around and snaps a finger at him like, yep, you're the man, and then does this little floaty, wavy dance on her way out the designated exit door.
Very 80s.
Did you notice that this office is set up like a psychiatrist's office where you enter through one door and leave through another?
That was odd, and I know that you mentioned that in your summary, that it was like a sitcom setup so that you can have one character leaving and the other one entering.
Do the old handoff?
Exactly, and you talked about it being efficient, which is funny because there's definitely some scenes later on that feel like fillers. Pacing is an issue here.
Maybe Eli just had the foresight to know that at some point a couple of antiques dealers were going to come track him down in his office and he was going to have to be able to leave this room through a second means.
Yes, but the doors, they're right next to each other though, so you would probably still see them anyways. It would make more sense if it was on the other side of the room.
Other side of the room, I know. That baffled me too. Since his blinds are always like quasi-closed, but I think you could see through them a little bit. Wouldn't you at least see his shadow heading for the exit door? But yet when Mickey and Jack come in later, they're baffled as to why the room is empty.
I know, and they somehow fail to see the dust or smell the remains of electrocuted human flesh.
And the growing pile of clothes he seems to have because he just disposes of them by chucking them in a corner of the room.
I know, it's like, I guess in that instance, he probably didn't have time to dispose of them properly, but that did make me question, like, does he just have a drawer somewhere with all the kids' clothes in them?
This is an office. It's got to have normal garbage cans, not to mention receptacles for biohazard waste. But there is that actually really great moment where after he kills Melissa, he's walking with her clothes and he's unaware, as are we, that the administrator is about to burst through that door like Kramer. And when it happens, he just kind of chucks them, I thought at the time, into a garbage can. But upon seeing the room in its totality and wider shots elsewhere, I think he just chucks them on the floor.
I think
he just literally throws them against the wall on the floor, and the administrator just doesn't notice or question a female student's clothes on the ground in his office.
He definitely would have seen that because it happened right in front of him.
It happened as he came through the door, which was a great kind of heart-stopping moment because they didn't play it for suspense. They hit us with surprise. Frankly, it kind of looks like it's going to be typical Friday padding of extraneous footage of him disposing of the clothes, and then the administrator just bursts in, and he really is caught off guard and just thinks quick. And that think quick plan was chuck the clothes on the ground. It's just like episode 8 Shadow Boxer.
Yes,
When the boxer
I know where you're going
home.
with this, and I just want to say that my favorite moment on this podcast to date was you and Hill Street discussing that scene where Ryan and Jack hide in the middle of the apartment.
Well, you know what? Honestly, that might be mine too, because it's the funniest thing, frankly, I think the show has ever done. And I like the fact that Hill Street was good enough to comment that it's exactly what she would have done in that situation, namely panic and do something completely stupid.
Well, I love the story that she told about playing Marco Polo in the pool growing up. And she said that the person would be coming toward her and she didn't know whether to go left or right. So she would panic and just stay in the middle and get caught every time.
Deer in the headlights.
Which is so relatable. I feel like I relate to that.
I mean, I legitimately kind of like the fact that Friday is willing to have characters just panic and do something stupid. It's refreshing. Not everyone is a criminal mastermind on this show. Sometimes they're just winging it. Much like Eli's whole plan, which is kill kids in the school I work in who have documented appointments with me.
It has happened to me occasionally in dreams that I've had where I need to hide from someone and I'll just be standing in the middle of a space and I'll think to myself, okay, they can't see me. And somehow it works. Maybe the director of those episodes had a similar experience.
Suffers the same dreams. Well, it's always true of this show, and I would say specifically this episode, that it seems like everything works by dream logic. So I'll yes and you.
We kind of get that a little bit in this scene when they're at the Transformer where Jack and Mickey, I don't think they were trying to hide completely because I think Eli knew that they were there at that point, but they just kind of take cover.
I think that time it was just putting up a barrier. Although I would be quick to point out that that barrier appeared to be a giant metal table.
Yeah.
You couldn't have picked a worse worst place to hide. You don't want to get electrocuted, so you're almost backing into what appears to be an open transformer, and then the barrier you're putting between you and the electrical man is a giant metal table. It's insanity.
Choices.
Yeah, like every single choice in Eli's office is somehow distracting. From the color scheme to the weird art of white faces with mouths, which
Yes!
would already be distracting, but then coupled with Melissa's makeup, seems like there's some kind of weird connection there that I'm sure isn't. And then in my script, believe you me, I go into that rubber dentist head he has on what's apparently some spare equipment from the grip department.
Oh my gosh, we have the same notes, clearly. I'm glad you mentioned the artwork because those posters on the wall that look like cartoon drawings of red lips and teeth. I actually had to go back and check because at first I thought it was the same poster that was put in 3 different places in the office, but they do seem to be slightly different. Every dentist office I've been in, they usually have diagrams or informational posters, but these are just so generic, like it looks like clip art.
Fun fact for you kids out there, if you found that plasma ball discussion interesting, this is also peak 80s because this imagery of the mouth and the bright red lips was kind of a thing. I think it probably kind of went hand in hand with the goth makeup as evidenced by Melissa. You'd certainly see it in Twizzler commercials and things pertaining to food. I actually owned a radio. It was a white square that had red lips. And then, much like the plasma ball, when music played, the lips would move. There's just something about that imagery that was part of the pop art scene of the time.
I'm glad you mentioned that because my first thought was Rocky Horror.
Ooh, yeah, Rocky Horror. And I mean, I know they were playing long before the 80s, but the Rolling Stones.
Right.
So we have this art, we have the plasma ball. I can't believe they didn't have a pin table where you push your hand up against it to make an imprint of your hand in the needles. We had a science museum that had giant versions of that were kind of fun to play with, although I'm not exactly sure what the hell it taught you about science.
I'm not sure what it said about science either. I definitely remember playing with those.
At some point, we've all put our face against it, right?
I know that there was a sitcom. There was an episode where they go to someone's house and the guest goes over and goes, "Oh, it's one of these things you put your face in and it takes an impression." And she does it. And they all look at her in horror and they say, "Oh my gosh, that impression that was in there was her late father."
That's brilliant.
It might have been a British sitcom. I'll have to look it up and let you know.
Please let me know. I need closure on that. And I also want to take a second to speak to the kids again to say that we're not forgetting what those things were called. They never had names. If you do a search, yes, you'll find someone selling one somewhere. And of course, they will ascribe a name to it because you pretty much have to. But they did not have names, I swear to you.
I never thought of that, but you're right. It didn't have a name. We just knew what they were. And then speaking of faces, you mentioned the mannequin head on the stand.
Yes. I don't know why it bothers me that even the hair is tan colored and matches the flesh of the rest of the thing.
I know, it's just so bland. I mean, I've seen dentist offices where they had stuffed animals that had really exaggerated teeth, like plastic teeth, and then they could take their prop toothbrush to show kids how to properly brush their teeth.
Yes, I know what you're describing.
It's just like with the artwork, like there's absolutely no detail in the artwork. It's just a standard outline clip art design, and the mannequin is the same thing. I think there are teeth in the mouth, but there's no anatomical detail that would be instructive.
Yeah, what would you learn by working on that thing, Laura?
I don't know. And you know what I love about it is the scene where he's pretending to be Speed Demon Courier, which is the greatest business name ever. I don't know if that's a name that he made up or if he looked up a name of an actual courier company in the city.
Yeah, you got a headcanon that one.
He's asking them when the guy's going to be home, which, I mean, I know it was different times, but A, would they have that information? And B, would they give that out to anybody?
Yeah, a warden? Not like that guy might have some enemies on the outside.
My favorite part is that when Eli hangs up the phone, he kind of looks over at the mannequin head, and I swear every time I watch that, I think he's going to start talking to it.
I mentioned that in my script. Not the talking to it. Thank you for yes-anding my thought. But the fact that it seems like when he ends the phone call, he looks at the head like he's commiserating with it for a split second. But then you realize he's actually looking past it and gets up and goes over to the file cabinet. But for that brief moment, it does seem like he's looking at it and thinking, why the hell is this attached to my desk?
There's definitely a moment that happens there between man and mannequin.
Exactly. And given some of this show's other sexual proclivities with the cousins, let's not even go there with this jaw agape mannequin head, which I would call BS on this thing and say this is just something they grabbed from the prop department. But the fact that the mouth is so agape makes me think, okay, this probably is actually something that maybe dental students actually use.
Oh, let's hope it's an unused mask from the prop department. I mean, it almost looks more like a CPR dummy than a dental mannequin.
Well, yeah, I mean, without the body, what are you learning? I feel like standing over the patient is kind of what this is all about. You almost need the torso just to keep the head in place. You know what I mean?
Is it actually the full head or is it just the face?
This is like all those amazing Renaissance sculptures that if you go around to the back, it's just rough rock because they were designed to sit inside of a niche 200 feet up in a cathedral. And when you see them in a museum, you start walking around it and you go, oh, it's completely unfinished back here. That's kind of disappointing. I can't tell with this thing. Based on the angles we see it at, I honestly can't answer you, Laura.
I'll have to go back and look. Not that I want to spend too much of my time on this. Life is too short.
Yeah, you've gone down some serious rabbit holes for the good of this podcast already. I am not about to ask you. In fact, I'm going to implore you not to look into this any deeper. If you do it, definitely don't do it at work. And if you do, safe search on. Yes. I don't think any good can come from answering these questions. Why would a banana grab another banana? I mean, that's the kind of question I don't want answered. If you like the horror genre as much as we do, you can preview the horror comic book Requiem for a Psychopath right now for free at the Inner Demon Entertainment website. Imagine a world in which horror film slashers are real. Then imagine a troubled teen bringing one out of retirement to help him take revenge on his bullies. It was written by me and drawn by friend of the show, Stephen Yu. Again, that's Requiem for a Psychopath on the Inner Demon Entertainment website. And if you dig it, please either review and rate it 5 stars on Amazon, or don't rate and review it at all. Ratings of less than 5 stars send the algorithm into murder mode for some reason. Thanks. I hope you enjoy it. Well, Eli sure does a number on the Winchester Mobile's hood ornament, but Mickey and Ryan remain unscathed. The effects are actually pretty great, the garbled radio is creepy, and the windshield wipers coming on is a nice touch. Would have been nice if the car's lights flickered, but I'll take what I can get. I've frequently inquired about how cold everyone must have been shooting so many exterior scenes during a Canadian winter, and case in point, there are real snowflakes swirling around Eli. I can personally vouch for the fact night shoots aren't fun in Los Angeles. I can't imagine what doing them in sub-freezing temperatures must be like. Well, his power abated, Eli shambles off while Mickey and Ryan watch him go? I guess maybe they weren't sure if he was still a threat, so I'll throw them a bone this time regarding not taking him down right now. But surely they're going to check on Judge Avery, maybe ask his wife to call an ambulance and or the police. Nope, Ryan is going to look for his keys, then they're going to rush back to Curious Goods to tell Jack about the comic book villain they just encountered. When Jack asks Ryan if he saw Eli's face, the production ADR'd Ryan's line,
"No, I didn't get a good look at him."
Maybe this wasn't done to change the line, but just to record a clearer version of it. Regardless, what? As in, why is that important? And also as in, you didn't get a good look at him? Sorry, a good look at him? When he stood in front of your car, under a streetlight, for 10 straight seconds, both in fury and showing you his O face? The dead ringer for MASH's Dr. Sidney Friedman if he wore wire-rimmed glasses. Huh. Maybe if you'd gone after him. So I guess we're meant to believe, even though our protagonists know Eli's name and history and academic degrees obtained, the only way they can track him down is by knowing what he looks like. And they don't. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Actually, how did Mickey escape any blame for that? Anyway, Jack was able to trace Dr. Lindheim to the reform school, so I guess Eli also used that alias to launch his professional career post-exoneration? Why? So 9 years later he could go on a murder spree? I just don't get it. During a lengthy monologue in which Jack has to slip in an to keep from ruining the long take, he reveals that they have an appointment at the reform school under the guise of buying antiques. Canada, there is so much I don't understand about your public institutions, but honestly, more power to you. Ryan quips they better wear their rubber boots and gloves, and they actually do. The boots, at least. The justification for this odd sartorial selection? Well, it just so happens to be pouring out. Remember how I always claim this show runs on a coincidence-based economy? Now get ready for one of the greatest reveals in all of horror. Stopping in front of Melissa's old room of all places, the administrator informs Mickey and Jack that the school is closing mostly for budgetary reasons, but also because a lot of kids escape. His word, including 3 last month. And just as they walk past an open door, and I marvel at the script once again bothering to offer an explanation for a very real plot hole, out steps Eli, who glares daggers into their backs. I don't know A, how he wasn't spotted through that open door, or B, why he risked being seen, or C, where the student is who should be in that room. Or D, where any student is at this time and in this weather, since all the doors are open or ajar. But I assure you, this is the best surprise reveal since the scissor attack in The Exorcist 3. It's that, then this, then nothing else. And you gotta love that, true or not, Eli appears even smaller than Mickey. Oh God, I forgot. How did I forget? The way Eli leaves the scene. I can't ruin it, and you wouldn't believe me anyway. It's at minute 27:18. Just go watch it for yourself. Turns out the administrator is thrilled the reformatory is closing. It's like he's hosting a fire sale. Turn-of-the-century wall fixtures, beveled leaded glass, an antique French bathtub? What? The tub is the craziest one, sure, but the other 2 are parts of the building. You gonna make them a deal on the copper wiring too? Dude, I don't think you get to keep the profits, and you might be out over your skis on this one. The administrator is called away by a chime that steps on his line. Not sure why that audio had to be placed on top of him. While that's going on, Ryan is reconvening with the warden to find out the identity of a potential target and gets roped into having dinner with the warden and his wife. This is definitely one of those episodes in which the characters are really just treading water until the denouement falls in their lap. In a 3-line exchange I can't make sense of, Jack mentions a directory that lists Eli's office. Mickey suggests that's a good place to start. Then Jack growls annoyance. To what end? I can't fathom. Friday, are you upping the ante on the Exorcist 3 comparison? You absolutely are. Eli is just standing in his office, giant silver syringe in hand. The administrator barges in calling his name, stands like a statue in the center of the room with his back to Eli, then waits patiently for Eli to prick him between the shoulder blades. It's true what they say, comedy lives in the wide shot. Then Eli tortures him with a dental drill to the strains of Canon in D major while interrogating him about what he told Mickey and Jack. Why this and not just zapping him with the chair? I don't know. Oh, it's because he
Have to be sure no one suspects.
Are you sure of that now? Because the woman with Kool-Aid hair and pop idol good looks who crashed your previous murder just showed up at your place of work. So maybe that trumps whatever the administrator just told you about her and Jack being there to appraise antiques? And now, oh God, I can't describe what's happening. I respect these actors too much. Okay, let me just brace myself, then try to pull off this band-aid as quickly as possible. As Eli charges up, Mickey and Jack don dish gloves. There, moving on. Eli has absconded through his door dedicated to exiting, so Mickey and Jack have free run of the place and quickly discover the electric chair, followed by the administrator's clothes. Pretty sloppy for a guy who had to make sure no one suspects. Crackerjack Marshak now MacGyvers up a compass-like device to track Eli vis-a-vis his electric charge. Poetic touch, using his own chair and syringe against him in building your device. Oh man, I thought we'd hit rock bottom with the dish gloves. Well, if the best shot of the series was the close-up of Eli's hand about to electrocute the car, the worst, most degrading one is this close-up of Jack's gloved hand holding a paper cup of water with a needle-skewered cork oscillating wildly. Even having already watched this episode, I thought Eli avoided confronting Mickey and Jack to prioritize killing another prison official. I mean, he was perfectly positioned to try his syringe stratagem again. But no, he decided to play cat and mouse in the bowels of the reformatory instead. It would be creepy, given how dark this industrial hallway is, but the tension is undercut visually by the world's most prominent exit sign, and audibly by a score of contemporary soft rock. A sudden burst of steam is a nice touch, but again, its impact is undermined by the fact it happens way behind our heroes. Also, and I'm no expert on reform schools, but it probably shouldn't do that, right? Periodically vent steam like a lost Mario Brothers level? When the camera trucks left to reveal Eli hiding around a corner, the elevator music is overpowered by the discordant sound of a Casio keyboard set to electric organ just before a cat jumps on it. We also get some diegetic electricity crackle, which Mickey and Jack discuss, then apparently dismiss as unrelated to the electrical man they're currently tracking. Oh, more scalding steam. This hallway has so many hazards, I'm now expecting a giant boulder to chase them. After that jump scare, they lower their guard upon discovering they've been duped by an electrical transformer. Only no, jump scare 3, Eli is right behind them. Only he looks dead. I mean, he's not, and he's standing and everything, but he otherwise looks dead. I can't explain it any better than that. You'll just have to trust me that he appears as unthreatening as he possibly could as we segue to a commercial break. Welcome to Crystal Ball, the segment where we gaze into the future and let time make fools of us all. This is the second episode that has used black and white. The first time, after my long discussion with Jeremiah, I thought that would be the end of it, but here we are, a second episode. So my question to you is, will we have at least one more episode that uses black and white segments?
So far, the uses of black and white have been fairly conventional. In The Baron's Bride, it's when we go back in time, and then in this current episode, it's used for flashback sequences. I am aware of another episode that I've seen that does involve time travel, even further back into the past than Victorian London in The Baron's Bride. And actually, wait, I'm so sorry. That might have been before Victorian London. Anyways, I know you can edit this out.
No problem. Take your time.
It might have been pre-Victorian times. But anyways, there is another episode of Friday the 13th, the series, that does involve traveling back in time. And I know they didn't use it in that episode. It stayed very much in color, which was relevant to the theme of the episode, I think.
Do you think there are any others, though, that actually do use black and white? We're 17 episodes into a 72 episode run, and they've used it twice so far.
I feel like it's certainly possible. I mean, I don't know if black and white film is cheaper, then it probably will come back.
Since you said yes, I'll follow up and ask, do you think they'll have the guts to do one that's entirely black and white?
Oh, that would be fun. I can see this kind of show doing that. I know that The X-Files had an episode like that, and Moonlighting had a black and white episode. So, yeah, definitely.
I definitely think they'll use black and white again. As much as I want to believe that they'll go all in and do some kind of throwback episode that's fully an homage to Universal horror films, maybe one that takes place in the past following characters that are ancestors of our heroes, I just don't think that they would commit to doing the entire thing in black and white. I don't quite think they would have the guts. Even though the titles and the end credits would be in color, I think the producers would feel compelled to make it clear to the audience that the show is normally in color, and therefore they would include one color scene. So I don't think they would go that far, but I definitely think there'll be another episode that uses black and white.
I feel like I should mention that I did grow up with a black and white television. We had a 12-inch screen, black and white television in our kitchen. It was one of those that had the TV aerial, and then it had the clunky dial that you would clunk, clunk.
Ka-chunk. Ka-chunk.
Exactly, to change channels. And we only got about 5 channels. It was just NBC, ABC, CBS, and then Fox and PBS, and that was it.
That's back when you were the remote, when your parents told you to get up, crawl across the room, and change the channel.
Exactly, yeah, that TV did not have any remote access.
Please tell me you had some tin foil added to the rabbit ears for better reception.
We did not, no.
Or a coat hanger, maybe?
No, we weren't that inventive. But it lasted a really long time. And I actually remember watching some episodes of Doctor Who on there because they were episodes from the 60s. And so they were already in black and white.
Nothing to lose.
I told myself it didn't matter. So my parents indulged me by bringing that small TV into my bedroom. So I got to watch it in my bedroom on the black and white TV.
That's what I was just about to ask. Was it the children's television, or did it possibly live in the kitchen or dining room?
It was purely a kitchen television just on the counter. We'd usually just watch watch the news on it. Like in the morning, we would watch the local news, and then in the evening, we would watch NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
And then there was always that fun game of when the family bought a new television, everything shifted around.
Right. I mean, we did have a color television in our family room. But yes, sometimes there were arguments over who got to choose what we watched.
Yep. Back from commercial break, Eli still looks dead, but he shambles toward Mickey and Ryan, so drama? Hey, you two, given the speed at which he's not moving, I might actually be more worried about what looks like an open power transformer right behind you. After staring at Mickey and Jack for a comically long time, Eli strips off one of his surgical gloves, then prances down the hall? Well, it was unexpected, I'll grant you that. That makes dose encounters between Eli and two of our heroes that involved everyone staring at each other for 10 seconds, then Eli running off with no one in pursuit. Riveting. Back at Curious Goods, hey, it's the Vault! Haven't seen you in a while. How you been? Mickey and Jack hauled the chair all the way to the vault on their own, and I actually like the fact they moved it just far enough inside that the doors will close, then said, good enough, and are leaving it where it will constantly be in the way like we all would in their position. And hey, another Friday first. Jack triggers the secret brick that locks the vault. We've seen it in reverse, unlocking the vault, but never locking it. Nice. And now possibly another first. A whip pan over to Ryan the Lion, who, wouldn't you know it, arrives just too late to help with the chair. In a realistic but dark turn of events, Ryan reveals that the man they suspect is Eli's next victim died of cancer 10 years ago. Yikes. Thanks, Captain Bringdown. Mickey remains adamant Eli is going to kill again, as that's why he didn't kill her and Jack. So ultimately, I was right about Eli just wanting to flee the reformatory, and everything that happened in the basement was really just padding. Kind of a Pyrrhic victory, but I'll take it. For God knows what reason, our Troika is certain Eli is only killing people from this one group photo they found. No, not a photo they took from Eli, just one they found in their research. What are you basing this conclusion on? I mean, you're right, he is scratching faces off a duplicate version of that same picture, but how do you know that? I only ask because it seems to have held you back until this very moment from realizing he might want to kill the warden. You know, one of the likeliest of targets. It's treated as important that Ryan knows the warden will be home exactly at 6, even though I can't imagine their plan to save him being functionally any different without that knowledge. Also, Eli wouldn't know that, as he most definitely wasn't invited to dinner with the warden and his missus, so I don't think there's actually the ticking clock you seem to believe exists. Oh, maybe you're concerned that if you arrive late, you'll interrupt dinner. That would be gauche. In the most 80s move ever, the Winchester Mobile flies down Main Street, passing a movie theater showing Ninja Turf. God, I wish I was watching that instead. Eli spies on the warden arriving home, and with his hood pulled up, he could now take 3rd place in a Unabomber lookalike contest. Nice little move, Friday, drifting down from a clock on the wall showing 6 sharp as the warden is greeted by his wife. On the drive, Jack postulates that Eli was grounded out or short-circuited when he grabbed the hood ornament, and that maybe they can repeat the process when they next encounter him. I like that, for all his knowledge, even Jack misuses the term short-circuit, and even better, he's aware that he's not really sure what that term means. As the warden's wife welcomes Eli into their home, mistaking him for Ryan, I suddenly realize that makes 2 times in this episode Eli was able to waltz up to his victim because someone mistook him for Ryan. Although we can never know the counterfactual, I think it's at least possible that our hero's intervention in these people's lives was actually a net negative. The warden recognizes Eli instantly, triggering another flashback, although this one is especially strange in that even Eli's warped memory depicts the warden as sympathetic and reluctant to carry out the execution. In fact, this time, it's the warden strapped into the chair, as if he and Eli are 2 sides of the same coin. I really can't make any case for why he's depicted this way. Hey, Ryan just stated his last name clearly and without embellishment. Dalian. Guess we can close the books on that one, but I'm going to continue to refer to him as Ryan the Lion. While Eli is upstairs, stalking his prey, Jack again MacGyvers an overly complicated plan involving Ryan going to the car, returning with jumper cables, hooking them to a radiator or something that will ground them. Jack, by the time you're done explaining this, the warden will be dead. You were clearly working on this plan during the drive over. Probably should have showed up at the door, jumper cables in hand. As is, this is feeling like a repeat of episode 13, The Baron's Bride, which had Ryan running outside during a vampire fight to retrieve a yard sign on a wooden stake. Well, the warden hides in a room on Jack's orders, but we all know Eli can kill via doorknob, so this solution proves too little too... Oh, I'm sorry, it works. Despite the warden leaning against the door to keep it closed, tiny little Eli opts to throw his weight against it to force it open. Bold choice. Perhaps his string of successes has finally gone to his head. Jack stalls for time, claiming Eli's plan won't work because, like Patrick Stewart, he's seen everything. Eli remains unfazed, countering that he'd
Love to hear your explanation to the police.
"You and me both, brother." Jack's taunt that they have the chair is enough to incite Eli to lunge for him, at which point Cracker Jack Marshak's cat-like reflexes kick in, and he attaches the jumper cable to Eli's hand. This triggers a death montage, which is another first and kind of cool, but also kind of just padding. Eli staggers back like he's falling down a staircase in Psycho, eventually collapsing into a rocking chair, which his burnt, smoking corpse takes for a gentle spin. Friday, you seem even less sure than Jack about how electricity works. He stated more than once the plan was to ground Eli, precisely because Eli's attack on the Winchester mobile left him drained of energy. This is more like a circuit being overloaded and burning out. I'm not being pedantic here. You establish both the terminology and the precedent. Well, at least that's... Hang on, did you just change what Eli's corpse looks like? After some quick reaction shots from our other players, now Eli's hair and mustache are white, his mouth is suddenly frozen in an eternal scream, his glasses are all cattywampus, and the whole skull and facial structure doesn't really look like Eli's anymore. What the hell? That's how we're going to our final commercial break? If the series was rebooted, whom would we cast? Well, let's check the manifest. Did this turn out to be the nightmare assignment that it was for me?
I am absolutely horrible with the casting question. I have nothing but mad respect for casting directors that find people that are perfect. It's just magical.
That makes two of us.
I confess I just let AI give me some answers.
Oh, I was about to ask, is this an AI list you generated? We have a Friday first. We have an AI response woven into the show. Sign of the times. Well, yes, I was instantly Job going, I've made a huge mistake. Because I realized quickly that Luis Roby and John D. LeMay were most likely far younger than I think they are in my mind even now. So I needed to think of young actors and actresses, and that is not my forte. I don't watch those shows. So unfortunately, I'm going to throw out a lot of names, and most of them are either way too old or really sadly, in a couple of cases, no longer with us.
Look, it's Friday the 13th, the series, a show that knows no limits when it comes to bending continuity rules, so I think we can allow ourselves a little leeway.
They didn't care. Why should we?
Exactly.
Excellent. I'll kick us off with Mickey. One bit of stunt casting to get out of the way. I couldn't help but think of Sarah Polley, whom, for you folks at home, that is the actress that played young Mistress Mary way back in episode 1 of Friday the 13th, the series. Sarah Polley won an Oscar for writing. She might still be an actress, I'm not sure, but she went on to a wonderful career in multiple different departments in the film industry. After her, I had Jessica Chastain. You're going to notice a theme here. Chose a lot of redheads. Kate Winslet. I think I needed to look up how to spell her name. I went to IMDb, and did I look up Titanic? No. I looked up the movie Quills, Laura. Are you familiar with Quills, the psychosexual period drama starring Jeffrey Rush as the Marquis de Sade?
I am not. When you first said quills, I was really hoping that there would be porcupines, but I'm guessing not.
Well, thank your lucky stars there were not, because they would not have been used in the way that you would like to see. Strange choice. Don't want to know what it says about me. Next on my list, I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce this. Isla Fisher. She was the redhead from Wedding Crashers. Because it occurred to me that I think Luis Roby really plays up the comedy of the show, or at least her own character. So I had Isla Fisher and then Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live and any number of comedies. She is actually my heart's choice, but if I were being paid to do this and had to take it seriously and had to cast someone who would be at least closer to the correct age, I'm thinking either Anna Taylor-Joy or Sadie Sink. I don't know Sadie Sink from as many projects as I do Anna Taylor-Joy because she's in, I think, every Robert Eggers film except The Lighthouse. But I'm led to believe they're both fine young actresses, and I think Sadie Sink looks a little bit more like Mickey. So if the assignment is to really match Louise Roby, and it is not, because this is Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the rules are made up and the points don't matter, I'm going to go with Sadie Sink as my actual selection for Mickey.
I feel bad because I don't have quite as many names on my list.
It's totally fine because you couldn't come up with many. I came up with a ton that were all wrong. So pick your poison. We both get F pluses on this one.
What was interesting about the Google search for these three characters is that it gave them each a character type, almost like a tarot card name in a way. So Mickey is the inheritor.
What? What kind of search did you run?
It was just I swear it was regular Google and not cursed object Google.
AI gave you suggestions for Mickey and also told you the day you're going to die.
It's interesting that you mentioned Anya Taylor-Joy because that was actually one of these suggestions. It said someone like Anya Taylor-Joy for depth.
Okay.
The other name that came up was Florence Pugh for relatable grit.
Okay, I kind of see it if I squint.
It's funny that you mentioned comedians because my first thought was Catherine Tate, who is one of the most famous redheaded comedians that I know. She would be a blast because she can really do the comedy and also the drama.
I don't think I know who that is. What might I know her from?
She had her own sketch comedy show, the Catherine Tate Show. One of her most famous characters is called Nan, who's an old woman who's very, very sweary.
I like her already.
She's probably even more well known for playing a companion on Doctor Who.
There it is. Is that the end of your list?
I would throw out maybe Gillian Anderson.
I almost put her on my list. I had enough people on my list that aren't age appropriate, so I didn't bother, but the thought did occur to me. I'll move on to my Ryan, played by John D. LeMay. From the very first time I heard him speak, I thought David Duchovny. Close second would be young Bruce Willis. Moving into more abstract territory, I would throw out Shia LaBeouf, David Schwimmer, Kyle MacLachlan. I have never said that correctly. From Dune and Twin Peaks, Portlandia. I'm just going to say it, either James or Dave Franco. And now moving on to real contenders, I'm going to give an honorable mention to Pete Davidson as sort of an Elseworlds Ryan. He's not our Ryan. Let's be clear about that. I'm not suggesting he's anything like John D. LeMay. I just see an alternate reality where he would be an interesting Ryan. He's small, but super confident in a way that he shouldn't be and has no right to, but goofy. I can't explain it, but for some reason I put him on the list, and actually he's closer in age than most of the people on my list. It's kind of like the stunt casting of Sarah Polley in the first one. So now we get to my real choices. My heart goes with Jeremy Allen White, who many people might know from The Bear, but if I was being paid to do this and had to do it for real, I think I would actually go Timothée Chalamet.
Google describes Ryan as the partner.
The way you did it is so much more interesting than the way I did it. I don't know why your casting also carries with it existential dread, but I'm getting real Cthulhu vibes as you go through your list. I can't hear your list and not picture an eclipse set to like an atonal warbling.
Yeah, Cthulhu Fatagan. The suggestions were for a charismatic but slightly troubled actor like Jacob Elordi or Noah Jupe. Now, I thought that was an interesting description of slightly troubled because I don't really get that from Ryan.
To be fair, I will point you back to the episode with the Scarecrow where we learn he's haunted by the memory of his dead brother.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I feel like there have been one or two times when Mickey ribbed him a little bit and he just kind of wasn't in the mood for it. Like he did have some loftier things on his mind. Because there was one episode where I found myself thinking, I wonder if he might actually leave the life, so to speak, to go pursue art.
Okay, fair enough. The only other name I was going to add, I know you mentioned actors who are no longer with us, but James Ransom.
He died?
I believe he committed suicide recently. Very, very sad.
I loved him since The Wire.
He was in the Sinister films as Detective So-and-so, and no, that is not me forgetting his character's name. He is actually credited as Detective So-and-so.
Yep.
I also just watched the first Black Phone movie, and I was reading that the director actually wanted to put him in it for a little bit of a comedic break to give the audience a bit of breathing room, which he does beautifully. I think he would nail it. I think very charismatic but slightly troubled would be a perfect description.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Are you saying that he would be your top choice were he alive?
I'm going with that, yes.
I like it. We're going to stay dark for a second because now we're doing Jack, played by Chris Wiggins. I could actually see such individuals as Rob Reiner or David Ogden Stiers. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Major Charles Winchester on MASH. Moving more into comedy, I could see John Rhys Davies, who played Sala in the Indiana Jones films.
Of course, yes.
I could see Brian Dennehy bringing that Tommy Boy energy, that fun dad energy to the role. I could actually see Forrest Whitaker, as could I Brian Cox. Here's my stunt casting for this one. Bear with me, I'll explain. Chris Hemsworth, who is actually probably these days about the right age, believe it or not. Throughout the Thor movies, I think one, he's actually managed to demonstrate a pretty accomplished range, but specifically in the first movie, I thought he brought the kind of Ghost of Christmas Present energy you need. Just that fun, in love with life, just happy to be here kind of energy that really encapsulates Chris Wiggins' performance of Jack Marshak. Finally, my real choice, and this is both my heart's pick and my getting paid to do it real pick, David Harbour, who I think not only would make a great Jack, but I think literally if I called him up and said I was shooting a 5-minute spec in my backyard, would you be interested in doing this? I think he would actually be game. He kind of seems like he's down for anything.
Jonathan Rhys Davies. I could hear the voice definitely as Jack Marshak.
Yeah.
I suppose I should start with how Google described Jack Marshak. So he is the mentor, and we're looking for a veteran actor with gravitas. Now, the suggestions that I got were very different than the ones you just gave. I was given Jeff Goldblum or Stanley Tucci.
I thought about Jeff Goldblum, but I said, no, I love the guy, but not for that role.
Oh.
Stanley Tucci, interesting. I also don't see it, but please continue.
Certainly Jeff Goldblum could play that very serious dedication that Jack Marshak has to the dark arts and his pursuit of knowledge.
I will put him in the same category as me suggesting Pete Davidson for Ryan, like an Elseworlds version of the character, more of an Ian Malcolm version of the character, sure.
I do want to say real quick that I agree with your opinion of Chris Hemsworth. He absolutely could do it. I remember watching those early Thor movies. I admit I'm not a huge superhero movie fan, but he did a really good job, especially with the comedy.
And specifically, I'm thinking of the scene where they're in the diner and he smashes the beer on the ground and calls for another. That kind of energy, I think. And not that Jack Marshak would do that exactly, but he's got a love for life.
I want to add Mark Shepard. He's already in every other occult television show. He might as well be in this one. He's been in Supernatural, The X-Files, Burn Notice, Doctor Who. He has a massive list of sci-fi, fantasy, fan favorite television shows. Someone made a montage once of him in all of his roles, and the caption said, Mark Shepard, my favorite, hey, it's that guy. He's just one of those character actors that's in so many things, and I could very much see him having that gravitas that Jack Marshak has, but also that passion for his pursuits.
Copy that. Nice composition on Curious Goods, balancing the store itself, the front end of the Winchester Mobile, and the Druid Avenue street sign. Seriously, we've seen a lot of establishing shots by this point, and this is definitely one of the better ones. Mickey has decided to celebrate surviving another ordeal by cinching on an alarmingly tight belt and adopting a hairdo traditionally reserved for members of the B-52s. The lighting of this scene either uses or reproduces natural daylight beautifully, making it feel like they've left the horrors of the previous night behind them. And a distant car horn actually works to the episode's favor, making Curious Goods feel like a real location and not a studio set. Jack, feeling confident he's fixed Ryan's plasma ball, invites Mickey to touch it, resulting in her already large hair going the full Einstein. Credit to Louise Roby, she has fun with it, and that sells it. It's silly, but actually one of the best closing freeze frames of the series, and again, after all that darkness and insanity, it's honestly a fun note to end on. Ever since Laura's sick burn about this show actually having a story editor, I can't look at the credits the same way, and must now point out that it has, in point of fact, 2 story editors and a story consultant. To protect the innocent, I won't reveal their names. And what's this? There's a story assistant to boot? And you all signed off on the lightning bolt hurling, death-defying, wrongfully convicted reform school dentist storyline. Really? Really? I know, no Hellraiser discussion. Relax, we've got time. We've barely even started discussing the episode. To be fair, we got through this one without mentioning Thomas Edison again, so we're making progress. And besides, we needed that space for The Manifest, a segment we didn't even bother to properly end, so I'll do that now. After some off-mic discussion with Laura, our combined cast resulted in Catherine Tate as Mickey, Timothy Chalamet as Ryan, and Chris Hemsworth as Jack. So, definitely a reimagining. And 2 more honorable mentions for Jack, Bryan Cranston and Lawrence Fishburne. Join us next time to discover whatever surprises that episode will have in store. Thanks for listening, everyone. We know you have a lot of options when choosing a Friday the 13th the Series podcast, and we sincerely thank you for choosing ours. Special thanks to Joshua Romeo for original music and to Stephen Yu for original art. And be sure to check out the Joe on Joe podcast, the only podcast where Joe Schlepsky discusses G.I. Joe. If you want to support our show, you can leave a review and rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. If you want an occasional update on our projects, you can sign up for our newsletter at the Inner Demon Entertainment website. And if you want to complain about social media with us on social media, you can find links on our website. And always remember what Carl said to Frylock. It don't matter. None of this matters. Good night, everybody.